Now, the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo-led NPP government is set to reintroduce road tolls with a close to 100% increment in the toll. Now, in November 2021, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta announced the immediate suspension of the collection of road tolls during the presentation of the budget. Now, he cited congestion, traffic jams at the tolls and as justification for the suspension of the collection.
Our roads are being fixed. It is true that more roads have been fixed and are being fixed over the last 5 years than any relative period in the entire history of our nation. We even want to do a lot more, and this budget will cater for this. That is why for decades, governments after governments imposed and maintained tolls on some public roads to raise funds for road construction and maintenance. This is the situation in many countries. However, over the years, the tolling and impacted negatively on productivity. The congestion generated at the tolling points, besides creating these inconveniences, also leads to pollution in and around the vicinities. To address these challenges, government has abolished all tolls on public roads and bridges. This takes effect immediately. The budget is approved on appropriation. The toll collection personnel will be reassigned. The expected impact on productivity and reduce environmental pollution will more than offset the revenue foregone by removing the tolls.
The then minority leader Haruna Dusu rejected the suspension and predicted that government will reintroduce the tolls at some point in time.
On the matter of toll booths, we want it reinstated, and we demand that toll booths be made functional and the revenues accruing from it made available for the Republic. They have no business, as if when you have the mandate to govern, you can just do as you please. Nowhere in the world will you travel and you not see functional toll booths. The state have lost significant amount of money arising out of it. We think that it's only proper that is reintroduced and probably adjusted so that we can rake in the needed revenue and use it as a vehicle to promote public-private partnership in the development of our road infrastructure and other infrastructure needed.
Well, today the Finance Minister, in a memo to the Roads Ministry, is seeking input in proposed hikes in road tolls. We'll share details with you in that particular memo. Government or the Finance Ministry is asking the Roads Ministry to make input into the proposed, hikes in prices, because they have to amend the existing act as they look at the number of roads that will be affected by this particular, reintroduction of the tolls. We remember that some time ago they said some specific roads, particularly roads that will be built through the public-private partnership, are the ones that will be affected by these road tolling. But now we understand that they will come on our roads whether or not they are private-public partnership or not. So that's how it's going to be. But Deputy Road Minister Stephen Jalula tells Joy News government is reintroducing the tolls because the e-levy is not performing as expected.
The e-levy came in, the government decided that the road tolls were going to be scrapped. Okay, so, but even before that particular budget was approved, there was chaos on all our tolling booths. So my boss thought it wise that there was no need for a life to be lost before this happened. And we knew that the good Parliament was going to, give us the approval. So he wrote that it should be suspended. Okay, road tolls were only suspended pending the approval of the budget. Yes, we used to get around 78 million per year, and that's a lot of money and can do something. But then in the e-levy was a component of a chunk of money. If we had approved e-levy at that, they said, and if the e-levy had worked the way it was conceived, I'm sure that we will not be talking about this today. But unfortunately, the e-levy failed us. It didn't work out the way we planned it. And that is why we are not talking about it. I know that over time, decision makers, the cabinet, the president's cabinet will come out again. If you are to introduce road tolls, why not? If you feel that we should, but let me also say that road tolls in Ghana was the least in the sub-region. You paid
in terms of how much
we paid. Okay. If we paid 50 pesos. Meanwhile, they said, you pay 50 pesos, but you want to have quality roads like we see in the advanced countries. It's very difficult.
Road tax consultant Dr. Abdallah Ali Nachia suggests that studies conducted suggest Ghanaians are ready to pay more for tolls if the revenue will be used in the construction of roads.
Don't we look at communication service tax? Our engagement shows that if you withdraw e-levy and rather increase communication service tax by 1%, they will like it. Then you reform it. The 0.5%, you see, the road toll shouldn't have been abolished. Can you increase road toll from 1 city to 5 cities? Our engagement shows that they have seen all the roads, Obechebilamte, flyovers, Takrade, they are prepared to pay. So you see, the 2.5 would have been spread across the handles without any impact being felt by only one sector. That is what we are missing.
Our roads engineer Mahama agrees with the decision to reintroduce tolls on our roads. He says Ghana is the least tolled in the country, in the world, which does not bring in the needed revenue. He is thus proposing an increment of around 300%. We'll hear from him shortly, but first, how much was the country making from the previous tolls, and how much are we likely to make when the new tolls are reintroduced? Isaac Kofi is with our research desk here at Joy News and joins me in studio with more Kofi. So how much were we making? What does the data really say?
Well, so before we scrapped the road tolls, we had about 38 tolling stations or toll stations that were collecting monies from. And on the average, we were making somewhere around close to 200,000 Ghana cedis every day. So it means annually we were making close to 72 million Ghana cedis. So if you take the whole year, the amount we were making from the 38 toll stations was around 72 million Ghana cedis. Now, it's been exactly a year and I think 2 months since we scrapped the road tolls. So if you do the math, if we are getting about 200,000 Ghana cedis every year, then it means currently we've lost at least 90 million Ghana cedis. And if you look at the current proposal that we have on board, the 88% upward adjustment, it means we are going to move from the annual, 72 million revenue to somewhere at least 100 million Ghana cedis every year.
Well, Jalula was also talking about the fact that e-levy has not really performed as expected. What do we know so far?
Well, so you remember that before, when the government introduced the e-levy, right after that, they had to, abolish the road tolls and said that the e-levy was going to be a means to actually, write off, or how do you call it, bring in the road tolls in there. So revenues from the e-levy was supposed to also use for, maintenance of our roads and other things. But we know the e-levy is not performing the way we anticipated it was going to perform. So last year, for instance, we were expecting close to 7 billion Ghana cedis. We ended up just getting a little around, 300 million Ghana cedis. So we're expecting 7 billion. We ended up getting just 300 million.
That's
and this year, exactly. This year, you see, last year's projection was 6 billion. This year, we are anticipating we'll get just, 3 billion. So it means the projection we had last year has been truncated about 50%. So 7 billion or 6.9 billion last year, now we are looking close to 3 billion. So the e-levy is not really doing well the way we were anticipating it was going to do well. But you can't also afford to be losing 72 million Ghana cedis every year. At this point in time where we are the IMF and we want a bailout, every billion cedi is important.
And so if we reintroduce the tolls, how much are we expected to be making yearly?
So currently the current average is 72 million. But if you look at the upward adjustment, although it's not across the 38 tolling stations, per the calculations we've done so far, we are looking at around at least 100 million Ghana cedis every year.
Interesting. Grateful to you. Now, let's go on to the phone lines and speak to Engineer Mahama, who really understands the issues that we're talking about. Engineer, grateful that you could be here. Now, you're proposing that we should be making around or charging around 300% hike in the old tolls. Now, why are you making this call when Ghanaians are really not happy even with the tolls? I mean, a lot of Ghanaians have been complaining about the tolling. Well, Engineer, if you could speak up a bit for us so we can follow what you're telling us.
In fact, can you hear me?
I can hear you now, yes.
Well, I'm saying a good evening to your cherished viewers. Last year, I condemned the cancellation of the toll, and I cited reasons why it has to, it ought not to have been cancelled. And I made projections by saying that by a year, if not two, the tools will definitely come back. And so I'm not surprised that
about the reintroduction.
Start from where we left. Said yes, the reintroduction of the tool. Across the media landscape, I've been very emphatic on why it will definitely come back, because it was a very unpopular decision to cancel the tool, whether it was suspended temporarily or what. It was very unpopular. It depends on some of these tax or tools it was quite amazing that look at the challenges we are confronted with. We cannot eliminate the tool and expect to function better on the road. My checks over the years, and the reason why I feel we are not realizing, or we are not actually charging what we need to be charged, is that if you look at our neighbors, Nigeria, Burkina Faso, and the Cote d'Ivoire coast.
All right, so we're speaking to Engineer Mahama, who has a lot of knowledge when it comes to the road sector in this country. Now, this whole reintroduction and the hike in the toll will affect transport operators. So what do transport operators like GPRTU say about this particular development? Abbas Imoro speaks for the GPRTU, and he joins us on phone now. Grateful to you, sir, for joining us. So I'm sure you've heard the development in there about the reintroduction of tolls in the country. What does GPRTU make of this decision by government? Okay, so if you just joined us, the news is that government is proposing to reintroduce tolls on our roads, and also the reintroduction will come with hikes in the tolls that we used to pay. For example, according to a memo that the Finance Ministry has sent to the Roads Ministry, if you're a motorbike rider or you have a motorbike, you used to pay 10 pesos when the tolls were there or when the booths were on our roads. Today, when they reintroduce it, you are expected to pay 50 pesos. If you have a car, you used to pay 50 pesos. Now, when they are reintroduced, you pay 1 cedis. If you drive a pickup or 4x4, you used to pay 1 cedis. Today, you are expected to pay 1 cedis 50 pesos when they are reintroduced. Light buses will also pay 1 cedis 50 pesos. For mommy wagons, you will pay 1 cedis 50 pesos. Heavy buses will pay 2 cedis. Light goods trucks or trucks with 2 axles, you are expected to pay 2 cedis. Medium goods trucks, that's trucks with 3 axles, used to pay 2 cedis. Today, if they are reintroduced, you pay 3 cedis. Heavy good trucks or trucks with 4 axles, you'd also pay 3 cedis. For trucks with 5 or more axles, you will pay 3 cedis 50 pesos. Agricultural tractor, instead of 50 pesos in those days, today you will pay 1 cedis. agricultural tractor with trailer used to pay 1 cedis. Engineer Mahama joins us on phone now. So you were making a point about why the need to reintroduce, and also why you are asking for government to even increase the tolls by around 300%.
Well, I said that across the world, I've been very emphatic with information and fact that we are the least paid toll in the world. You cannot develop your road sector with the amount of money we realize a year. We are told that we receive about 72 million Ghana cedis, equivalent about $12 million a year. That $12 million can just do about a 3 or 4 kilometer stretch of a dual road maximum. And a 4 kilometer stretch is just like from Joy News TV towards Papaya or Achimota. That is the maximum that that amount of money can do. And if your neighbors, Burkina Faso, Cote d'Ivoire, Nigeria, are charging the passenger car unit, which is the saloon cars, 5 cedis average, which is 90%. You are doing 50 pesos. So if you are doing 50 pesos, it means you are doing 90% less than your neighbors. And so you cannot be able to make any noise or to complain about the fact that you are not actually enhancing or improving the road, because that money can do just a fraction of a road stretch in Ghana. Secondly, the toll had a challenge, which we are all aware, that the minister was emphatic that the challenges around the toll, the circumstances led to the cancellation, which was the slow pace of traffic within those catchment areas. And we have said that is because of the poor nature of the toll booth system we have in Ghana. The toll booth at Ayimensa, the toll booth at the Dodowa Stretch, the toll booth at Afenia Stretch. You cannot have wooden kiosks sitting in the middle of the road, squeezing the road race, and expecting that when you are towing the road, you have smooth flow of vehicular movement in that stretch. Why is it that Amasama used to have a very dense traffic, yet the toll at Pobeman was one of the most free toll in the country? So if you properly design the toll, you will not be confronted with the challenges that the minister was actually enumerating. So we need to get this fact clear, that we need to pay more, we need to ensure that we are paying better. Otherwise, but one thing is that if the Ghanaian populace is paying the realistic fees that I'm proposing beyond what government has stated, I am thinking that a 300% increase will not be far-fetched. And because when that is done, then the citizenry will now hold government accountable to be transparent enough in how much they are realizing at the end of the year, and how the amount of money which is being put into maintenance of the roads, i.e. reshaping, regraveling, pothole patches, asphalt overlay, or reconstruction of newly identified routes in the country. This must be done, because we cannot, and I don't see how we can come up with the 50 pesos, 90 pesos, 150 pesos with these trucks which are on our road. If you go to Cote d'Ivoire, if you go to Burkina Faso, those heavy-duty trucks are paying not less than 25 Ghana cedis at a toll.
Okay. All right. I'm grateful to Engineer Mahama for joining us tonight with your thoughts on this. Now, moving on to other stories. Now, government says it has commenced payment on outstanding bonds after it failed to honor its own deadline on Monday, March 13. Now, it comes on the heels of a 48-hour ultimatum issued by the bondholders to government to pay or be met with a series of actions to get their payment. Now, 2 weeks ago, the Finance Ministry promised to make outstanding payment to those who did not subscribe to the Domestic Debt Exchange Program. Now, these were payments due in February. This was Deputy Finance Minister John Kuma on Newsfile on the 18th of February.
Encourage Bright to confirm the 30 billion figure of the pension funds, just for him to be sure. And we also want to assure Ghanaians that all the concerns that have been raised in terms of fiscal adjustment that have to be done in response to the current circumstances, government has its eyes on it, and at the right time, the necessary announcement to be made. I know my brother, so let me just take opportunity to thank all those who sacrificed and agreed to be part of this process, and to assure them that government is sensitive to the issues and we are going to respond at the right time on the necessary fiscal adjustments as well.
We are learning that the Finance Ministry has given approval for payment, but administrative processes may have accounted for the delay. Head of our political desk here at Joy News, Evans Mensah joins me in studio with more. Evans, what more are we learning from government?
So the Finance Ministry in the last hour or so has issued a statement, and it says emphatically that as of yesterday, they began processing the payments, but more specifically, in the next 48 hours, all bondholders whose bonds matured, both coupons and principals, on the 6th of February and the 13th of February, will receive payment in the next 48 hours. So what payments will come will only affect these two maturing bonds, including coupons. What is outstanding is that since the 13th, many more bonds have matured and coupons are due as well. The Finance Ministry says in their statement they've issued today that for those additional bonds, they will communicate when the payments will be made in due course. So that's the statement that has been issued today.
Which means that this payment is for the ones in February.
That matured in February. So there's two dates, 6th of February and the 13th of February. So if you had bonds that matured on the 6th and the 13th of February, you should expect your payment in the next 48 hours, including your coupons as well. Your principals will be paid, your coupons will be paid. But if you had bonds that matured post the 13th of February, the Finance Ministry hasn't indicated when you'll be paid, except to say you'll be paid in due course.
Since this came out, you've been speaking to some of these bondholders. What have they been telling you?
So they're not happy. First of all, they're not happy that the Finance Ministry did not communicate this as of yesterday, because remember that the Finance Ministry's earlier statement says processing of the payment will start by the 13th, right? So yesterday was the 13th. So they were expecting that at least by close of day yesterday, they would have seen monies hit the account. So that didn't happen. We expect that the Finance Ministry would have communicated ahead of the close of day yesterday to say it isn't coming, expected in the next 48 hours. So that was their first complaint. The second complaint from both the Individual Bondholders Association and the Pensioners Individual Bondholders is that there's a significant amount of bonds still maturing post the 13th. And this statement, again, does not state when they'll be paid. In fact, Dr. Edward Anienchi, he leads the Pensioners Bondholders Forum, makes the point that when they met the Finance Minister told them that all bonds that were due will be paid. So he's surprised to learn in this that only 2 dates will be paid, and then the rest, again, nobody knows when, except that we paid in due course. So they're criticizing that. They're not happy with that. And so they are studying this statement, and they will react accordingly going forward.
So they didn't give indication whether they will follow through with the ultimatum or they will retract?
Well, the ultimatum was for the payment of those that, were outstanding. And those that were outstanding includes the 13th and the 6th of February maturing bonds, and also includes those that matured post that. Okay, so there's some that are completely mature, so you're due with your coupons and your principals, and those that haven't matured yet, but coupons are due. So they expect that all these will be paid. So they aren't happy with that. And what they are now going to do is to take a decision how to respond to these selective payments that the ministry has announced.
Interesting. Grateful to you. Now, you're still watching Joy News Prime. Still to come here. The NDC is criticizing the EC for taking interest in the opinions of smaller parties without representation in Parliament.
All gets passed in Parliament. There are only two parties. If you like, go and ask Akwadonko to go and speak in Parliament.
Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress is questioning the basis on which the EC continues to prioritize the stake of smaller political parties without representation in Parliament. Now, since 2021, the NDC has refused to attend IPAC meetings to discuss election-related matters by the Electoral Commission. Now, the NDC has declined that invitation on the basis that they disagree with a lot of the things that do happen there. We'll hear from the party chairman shortly. But here is chairperson of the EC, Jane Mensah, telling Parliament some weeks ago that making the Ghana card the sole registration document would ensure that only eligible Ghanaians register as voters.
Former minority leader Haruna Idrisu had always insisted that EC chairperson Jane Mensah appears before the House over this controversial CI. Madam Jane Mensah says this CI will help make Ghanaian election even more credible as she mounted a spirited defense of the proposal.
The CI before Parliament seeks to promote the continuous registration of voters and advocates for an all-year-round registration of eligible voters at the district offices of the Electoral Commission. It is a clear departure from the previous system where the voters' registration was done for a limited period. We are mindful of Article 42, Article 42 of the Constitution, which enjoins us to register Ghanaians who are 18 years and above and who are of sound mind. We do not intend to disenfranchise persons who qualify to vote. More especially, it will prevent unqualified persons from influencing our elections and having a say as to who should govern our country. This is an issue that borders on the sovereignty of our nation. Simply put, only eligible Ghanaians must be entitled to vote. And we call on our honorable members to support our efforts to prevent foreigners and minors from getting onto our electoral roll.
But speaking in an exclusive interview with my colleague Blessed Soga, the chairperson of the NDC, General Asiedu Nketia, says the EC's preferred solution by using the Ghana card will not solve all the problems confronting the EC. Instead, the party believes the Ghana card is being weaponized in the interest of the ruling party.
Before you make any new law, the first thing you do is, what is wrong with the existing system which I'm seeking to correct? Can you take a brand new vehicle to a workshop and then say that I have to change, you have to work on my vehicle? They ask you what is wrong with the vehicles, I don't know. They might think there's something wrong upstairs. So the Electoral Commission has so far not told Ghanaians what is wrong with the existing law.
The chairperson has been to Parliament. She says they want to do away with, for instance, the guarantor system, and that the Ghana card is part of that solution.
Why are they doing away with the guarantor system when the guarantor system is used to procure the Ghana card itself, which you want to use? Is the guarantor system good or bad? The guarantor system cannot be bad, cannot be good when you are using it to procure the national ID card. And then when you want to register people using the national ID card, you certainly feel that the guarantor system is bad. It's like somebody who declares that he doesn't want to eat maize or corn, and yet he can eat kenke.
Yes. And you have another opportunity with the IPAC, the Inter-Party Advisory Committee. It's a platform that was created, and you've served, you've been a member, you've attended these sessions over the years, until recently when the party had some challenges with that forum. Will you use the IPAC as a means of channeling your grievances to the Electoral Commission?
IPAC is one of the institutions that has been weaponized. In this interview, I told you that the state institutions are gradually being weaponized. These are the things we must work at to make sure that IPAC delivers on its mandate. If not, we are not going to be participants because nobody will be allowed to use NDC as a rubber stamp for any wrong decisions.
So unless the reforms, you would not channel your concerns.
We put these cards on the table.
Right.
Luckily, when there is conflict, we have a state institution that works at the conflict to make sure that there is resolution and there is peace, and that is the National Peace Council. National Peace Council came in because they realized that the mistrust of the Electoral Commission and the electoral processes had been flagged in the National Security Strategy document to be a national security threat. And surveys upon surveys have returned a verdict that the citizens don't trust in the Electoral Commission and their systems. So the National Peace Council decided to do something about this. They engaged us about our possible return to the IPAC. We laid down the reasons. They listened to us, and they said, okay, can we put together a roadmap? We said, well, we are not alone at IPAC. Can you engage our colleagues in the other party, main party? And we are only two parties represented in Parliament. So they went and engaged the NPP. Right. They had a fruitful meeting with NPP, and the next stage of the roadmap was to engage NDC, MPP, and Peace Council together. That meeting happened, and together we put together a roadmap for the return of IPAC to its original mandate. So after that meeting, the next stage was for the Peace Council to go and engage the Electoral Commission. Electoral Commission has refused for 14 months now. They have refused to even grant audience to the Peace Council.
You're stating this on authority?
As a fact, yes. Call Peace Council. Call civil society organizations in governance who also started another parallel effort aimed at achieving the same thing. IDEC, CDD, and the others, they also put together a roadmap. Electoral Commission has refused to also buy into any such roadmap. So we are saying that, well, hard on the training grounds, easy on the battlefield. In the past, we would trash all these differences at IPAC. You, by design, want to exclude us at IPAC. We say, fine. We are waiting. Bring it to Parliament. So all the issues that should have been trashed at IPAC, they are now being dealt with in Parliament. And it amounts to a complete waste of parliamentary time. Do you know how much we pay MPs? Go and check the money the state spends on 1 hour of the time of Parliament. And if you have other means of solving a problem outside Parliament, and you make things such that those problems can only be solved in Parliament, what do you think you are doing to the state?
Now, ranking member on the Health Committee of Parliament, Kwabena Minta-Kando, says the claims by President Akufo-Addo and his Minister of Health that no child died during the shortage of vaccines is false. Now, debating the State of the Nation address in Parliament, he cited a pediatrician and claimed that up to 5 people died. There's more in this report by Kweku Asante.
Health and security dominated today's debate in Parliament, with Minta-Kando disputing government's claims that no lives were lost due to vaccine shortages.
Mr. Speaker, the President on this floor of the House said that we had recorded no death. The Minister also repeated on this floor that no death has been recorded. Mr. Speaker, that is again palpable falsehood. Mr. Speaker, according to the Northern Regional Pediatrician at Tamale Teaching Hospital, Professor Anum Al-Hassan, Mumin Al-Hassan, the speaker, he says that we have reported about 5 fatalities.
Only this weekend, government received 6 weeks worth of vaccines, but did not disclose where it came from. According to Kwabena Minta Kando, the vaccines came from Nigeria and urged government to come clean on the matter.
Mr. Speaker, on Saturday, we heard that Ghana has taken delivery of some vaccines, but what they didn't add was that these vaccines were coming from Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, these vaccines were coming from Nigeria. Of course, I have absolutely no problem if FDA confirms that these are good vaccines. But Mr. Speaker, the bigger question is that how come Nigeria has excess vaccines and we don't have?
MP for Doma East, Paul Chumberima, and Minister of State, Frida Prempe, also debated on the majority side.
I heard most of my colleagues from the majority side talking about roads infrastructure, and my colleagues on the other side were trying to say as if that we've not constructed anything. We will tout that we have constructed more roads than the NDC.
Now, let's take you to Kumasi, where lactating mothers are excited their children are now being vaccinated after weeks of shortage. Now, oral polio, measles, and other vaccines have been in short supply for some time now, and children are now being vaccinated after government secured some vaccines. Some elated mothers have been telling Joy News that they can now secure the welfare of their babies. There's more in this report by my colleague, Ohiming Teria.
In 2020, launched a polio vaccination campaign in the face of COVID-19, despite enjoying a decade-long polio-free status. It followed laboratory investigations confirming the existence of polio in the environment after a child in Chereponi in the northern region was diagnosed. The two-phase campaign was followed by routine care at child welfare clinics. But those services have been dealt a big blow following the shortage of oral polio vaccine, measles, among other vaccines. Mothers of newborns were left frustrated as they searched for the vaccines to vaccinate their children against the 6 killer diseases.
Last month, when I came here last month, they told me there were no oral polio vaccines. But there was nothing I could do. I was left frustrated and disturbed, but couldn't do anything about the situation. So I accepted my fate. The nurses told me the vaccines were not available 4 months ago. Anytime I come, they will tell me they were not available.
Health officials were in turn left frustrated, as explained by Felicia Mami Efua Edua, public health nurse at the Suntreso Government Hospital.
My mother decided to bring her child to the immunization for immunization. But when she comes and she's able to receive it, she becomes happy. But assuming you pick a car and you come and there's no vaccine, you have to go and come. Then it becomes uncomfortable for them. So they are all happy, and we are also happy to have it.
But the situation is changing thanks to the government's access to more vaccines. Several thousands of doses of vaccines have been distributed from the cold room of the Ashanti Regional Health Directorate. The Kumasi metropolitan area alone has received 3,000 doses of the vaccines. Mothers could not hide their joy as they vaccinated their children at child welfare clinics.
I was elated to see my child vaccinated. I am so happy. They kept tossing me, but I was happy to hear the vaccines were available. I am so happy.
Babies coming for men A, we had 10. Then in terms of measles, we also had 20. Then yellow fever, we had 15 children. OPV, which is polio vaccine, we also had in total 60 children who were given. Then in terms of BCG2, we also had 40 children as at now.
Mami Efua Edua, however, is hopeful the exercise can be sustained.
We went for hours from the regional code room yesterday, and this morning we just started giving it out to the children.
From Kumasi, for Joy News, Ohiming Teria reporting.
All right, so time for us to bring you showbiz. And the queen of the showbiz thing is here. But you see, like we say in my language, a hunter, Mama Wakwaba.
Do you, I mean, you've promoted your hunter enough. I think that they are grateful for your support. Can we do, because if I want to start promoting where I'm coming from, have you even asked me where I'm coming from? Enumboso.
No, I'm not doing
If I want to start talking about Enumboso, we won't even start doing the news.
I'm only giving out Akwaba. I mean,
I know, but you don't have to, do all that. A hunter. Don't do that.
Or you can also not tell me.
But I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Oh, you're so cute. Let's be in the spirits. Let's talk about Emoji, please. I'm in the spirit. So, Emoji was on drive time with Lexus Bill, and he's been. You're not paying attention to me? Talking to you.
I am.
All right. So, he's been talking about the country as a whole and what he thinks that leaders must do for the youth in Ghana.
Obviously, to be about the youth, how God should help our leaders to create room to empower the youth, because we have a lot of power when it comes to energy and young people that are going waste, and we are not creating jobs for them. We are not giving them opportunities to serve in places where it can help develop, the country, and all those energies are wasting. I mean, I travel a lot, and every time I go to the airport, I see a lot of young people traveling outside the country, and you ask them, what are you going to do? I'm relocating. Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you for our country, Ghana, that you've blessed us with a land of gold, diamond, oil, timber. We have all the resources, Lord. We thank you for the leaders that you have given to us. We pray that, Father, the Bible says that the heart of the king is in your hands and you turn it where you want thereof. We pray that, Father, turn the heart of our leaders to a place where they'll have compassion for the youth.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. I receive that. I receive that. Don't forget that Emoji has a show, an event, a new wine concert coming up this weekend. So please, let's all join him with this particular concert. The prayer was powerful. But let me ask you a question, Breeze. Would you ever go back to your ex? I know that you're married, but I mean, just.
No.
Okay. Not for business. Would you, want to talk to her or something?
Oh, like be friends.
Be friends.
Oh, why not?
Not
Why
like.
not? No, I talk to a lot of my.
I think that's what you do. You talk to your ex.
I mean, I think all my exes I do talk to. I don't have a lot.
Oh, your exes.
No, you have to look as a young.
Let me
man,
start counting my exes.
I have 3 of them. I talk to everybody.
Somebody broke my heart. I never spoke to him.
Oh, for me.
But, well, on Playlist Update today, I bring to you Medical and Sister Debbie. They've collaborated on a song. Let me know what you think about, this whole thing. Do you think that is for business or, But let's take a look at the song with her right here. We'll be back tomorrow.